Oh, Mary is coming, you heard?
She planned on it.
Okay. If we've got 4 and I need 1 more. Hey, Gail is not coming and I haven't heard from her.
Danny was here when we first got it.
Oh,
Danny was here when we first got it.
here.
Danny, he's from Puerto Rico.
No, he's not.
Oh, I thought.
No, I'm looking for,
I'm
it's Mary. and here-
There's Mary.
And she's, as we speak, she's walking in. The answer is yes. Yes,
See that?
we should. We're glad to see you because you make number 5. Yay.
I'm so sorry to just.
No, you're here. That's all that counts. No apologies needed, because we knew the other 2 were probably not coming. Okay, so is your mic stuff ready? Okay. Okay, want to call to order the special meeting of the New Shore Planning Board for Tuesday, October 21st. There's one item on the agenda. It is Blanchfield Realty. Discuss and act upon the Department of Environmental Management Office of Water Resources Notice of Application Number 22-0340 for permission to alter freshwater wetlands project at Assessor's Plat 3, Lot 136, New Shore. Application by Blanchfield Realty Holdings LLC. Application dated October 1, 2025. The notice period is 45 days to offer comments to the Department of Environmental Management. The notice period ends November 17th at 4 p.m.
And Peter Friedrichs is on Zoom, just so you know.
Okay,
Karen is not.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Hamza Chowdhury. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm counsel for Blanchfield Realty. Today I have with me Mr. Jim Blanchfield, who's the principal of Blanchfield Realty. I have Mark Castellanos from Sherenzia. He's our surveyor of record, and Sherenzia is our engineer of record. And finally, we have Kevin Hoyt, who is the prospective buyer of this property if we were to get approvals from this board and then DEM and everything else that we need to do. So I just want to give a brief overview of the project and then turn it over to Jim for some initial comments and then turn it over to Mark to walk you through our proposed plan, subject to your thoughts, Madam Chair. May I proceed? Thank you. So Blanchfield Realty is the owner of Lot 136. It's a landlocked piece of property that's only accessible by the 40-foot right-of-way that is platted on the map in front of you. That has been confirmed by a title opinion issued by Pilgrim Title, specifically attorney Chris Montalbano, that the only way to access this property is through this 40-foot right-of-way. The proposal in front of you proposes to use only a fraction of that 40-foot right-of-way, 10 feet in specifically, which is the minimum amount that we can develop in order to do so. As Mark is going to get into details on, essentially, we have done everything in our power to try to minimize any impact to the wetlands on this by moving it as far away from the wetlands as possible. As you can see, there's approximately 1,200 feet of wetlands impacted by this. The wetland in total is about 85,000 square feet. So this proposal in front of you today only proposes to modify 1.5% of the wetland. As you can see in front of you, we have the town's plat map. This was pulled right from online. And as you can see, and I know I can't stray far from this microphone, but that's better. So essentially, as you can see off of Mansion Road, we have, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. So as you can see off of Mansion Road, we have the subject property is 136 right here. We have the 40-foot right-of-way as set forth by the town's own plat map right here. As you can see, there is no other access per the town's plat map to this particular piece of property. I will also note that there's no other access to lot 131 either. And the plan is for lot 136 and lot 131 to share this access. Otherwise, both these properties are landlocked and undevelopable, and they have no benefit to their owners. So that's why we are here today on this, asking for a positive advisory opinion from this board, and here to answer any questions as it relates to this. So it's not only 136 that's impacted, it's also 131. I will also note that 138, the existence of this 40-foot right-of-way is undisputed. The owners of 138, who I believe are here today with their counsel, essentially in every application they made to DEM in order to alter the wetland, they had that 40-foot right-of-way displayed. And those are on the approved plans from DEM if you were to look back at the record for the development of 138. So I want to pause there, answer any questions, but I did want to turn it over to Mr. Blanchfield for some introductory comments. Is that okay? Thank you.
Thanks for allowing me to be here today. I'm very lucky man here today to be here. We've been lucky as a family to be on Block Island for over 70 years. And the original purchase of that property from the Littlefields, you know what I'm saying, developed what we have today, which is those 4 houses that you probably are familiar with as you've been down Mansion Road. All those people who were originally in those houses from the day that they were built are still here today. So we're talking about a family that has been on Block Island for some time. And I don't know if you knew my mother or my father, but we happen to know the Blanchfields, but they were involved with this community in a lot of ways in which I was very proud of being a son of that contribution here. So what we found out here is that in my mom's passing, we were able to decide how we were going to live on Block Island. And the house I built for my mom and dad back in 1990 across the actual East Mansion Road, we decided we did not need. Okay, because 2 of the 4 of us decided to stay on Block Island for summers and the actual off seasons. So in that regard, me being a builder, there could have been opportunities for me to build another house on this property, provided I get the permits for that. But there was no interest for any cash sort of needs for that wanting to be building something to sell for a profit, as we know what real estates can be today. So our idea in meeting and selling my mom's property, I met Kevin, who was involved in helping us to design the septic for that property. A relationship began, and his relationship and our relationship has been quite significant in the fact that we felt compelled at this time to offer the opportunity to an islander to have a chance to be on this island. So ever since that moment back in early 2020, we have decided that this would be the way we'd like to see this happen. So we've kept the property at its price that was valued back in 2020 to be the ideal price, kept at that price for the sale of this property to a local person. And we're hoping that you will understand that in the spirit of my family and the spirit of us, we'd like to see an islander maintain a piece of property on this island and continue to contribute to what is a great island that we all love. And I thank you all today for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I'd like to turn it over to Mark from Sherenzia and Associates to walk the board through the plans in front of you today.
Hello, Mark Castellanos, Sherenzia Associates, Land Surveyor. This is the overall sheet 1 of the site plan, which shows the lot 136 that's which is being developed and the 40-foot platted right-of-way that allows access to this lot. This right-of-way was platted back in 1961 when conditions were much different and when this was a larger subdivision. So its location is pretty well known, at least from a survey standpoint. So that in essence is our constraint, since 61, this wetland is probably increased in size and kind of, pushed into some of that easement area. So the challenge there was to stay within the confines of what we were allowed for access over lot 138 and reduce impact to the wetland. We put together an exhibit specifically for this property that kind of dives deeper into some of the measures that were taken in our design. When Bates and Conway put in their driveway and their garage, they got a permit from DEM to put in this wall to kind of protect their driveway against from the impacts of the wetland over here. That being, maybe not knowingly at the time, was put within the right of way. So a portion of that wall will need to be removed so that we can maintain as much furthest east, northeast of that wetland to keep our design from minimizing the impact. So what we proposed is, we've pushed this as far as we can up against the northeast line here. Holly Combs has said we have a 10-foot crushed stone driveway proposed with a permeability. And then with talks with DEM, rather than grading into the wetland for stability and to raise the grade of the road, they're putting in, we've designed a retaining wall that will now act as the new buffer, along with some restorative vegetation along that wall, so that the wetland will be allowed to revegetate up to that wall, minimizing the impact, north of that wall. For the stormwater that's going to be coming naturally off of Bates Conway, we put in some catch basins and culverts and drain pipes that will capture all that runoff and continue to convey all that stormwater back into the wetland as it was before. Additionally, we have the underground utilities. The utilities will be underground to limit any clearing of trees or maintenance within the wetland should, what you might get with overhead lines that would require periodic entrance into that area to, keep the lines safe from being damaged in a storm event. Those are the main parts of it. I didn't want to get too deep into it and kind of open things up. Like I said, is there anything else that you wanted me to touch on as far as the design?
Just a couple of, thank you, Mark. Just a couple of follow-up points. In front of the board, there's a report from Avicennis Environmental Services, who are our wetland biologist in this, and essentially has developed a report about all the steps that Blanchfield Realty has taken for avoidance, minimization, and mitigation efforts. And those 6 items are outlined on page 5, and I'll just quickly read them to you. So you don't have to look at the report. 1, access to the lot is only achievable via the deeded right-of-way crossing 138. Less impactful options for siting the driveway were explored and exhausted. We also looked at all other options for possible legal ingress and egress to this property. And pursuant to our title opinion that we got from Pilgrim Title and Chris Montalbano, there's no other access. The area disturbed by the driveway has been reduced as far as possible, as Mark said. The proposed driveway will be constructed of pervious material, as Mark said. Plantings are proposed for the entirety of the disturbed area, except for the driveway itself. On the subject lot, the proposed driveway is routed around the C-Series wetland. And I wanted to make this point. I'll just turn to that. So as you can see, the deeded right-of-way actually comes all the way down and ends up in the middle of the C-Series wetland. And since Blanchfield Realty controls 136, what we elected to do in order to avoid further impact to the wetlands is we designed this jog around it, and it actually goes outside of the 40-foot right-of-way. And we actually worked with the Vanderslasens, who own this property on lot 131, in order to essentially agree that this piece of the driveway can go around the C-Series wetland. So as you can see, members of the board, we've done everything within our power to avoid that. We're not proposing to modify or impact the C-Series wetland whatsoever. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that. And then power infrastructure is proposed to be buried and mitigate the need for overstory clearing. I'll also point out on page 8 of the report, actually page 9 of the report, mitigation measures are listed, and there are 8 in total. First, the plantings. Second, all restorative activities shall be overseen by a qualified wetland professional, Ed Evazinis and his firm. Erosion control shall be controlled and installed along the downslope margin of the proposed driveway and continually monitored for efficacy. All wetland areas temporarily impacted by the construction shall be seeded with New England wetland plants, specifically a wetland seed mix. Balled and burlapped and transplanted shrub species shall be planted in an interspersed fashion 8 feet on center, 3 feet tall after planting throughout the depicted area. Similarly, trees shall be planted 8 feet on center. Species planted within the perimeter wetland shall consist of white spruce. The area within the wetland shall be planted in a similar fashion with inkberry, and the area shall be left to revegetate naturally and return to a wild state. The monitoring report shall be prepared by a qualified professional to be submitted to DEM. And I'll note that DEM has been out here and verified the wetland flagging that's been done by Ed Evazinis. So at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Okay, if you want to go to the map, that's fine.
I just want to make sure I heard correctly what I think what Mark was saying. And that is it is my understanding that you are saying that this wetland is expanding in this direction.
Well, it may have since it was an agricultural back 30 times back. This platted right away dates back to 61. This wetland may have been smaller.
So if that's the case, and you have culverts right over here, those culverts are also feeding this wetland, correct?
Culverts will be.
Right? So that my interpretation is that this wetland is being stopped from expanding, and the water level will rise. So at some point, you are theoretically, you are going to be flooding that driveway.
Because what we're doing is displacing the water rather than allowing it to capture anything from here. You know, these catch basins that were installed are allowed to continue as they have in draining over. We're not looking to increase, we're just managing the stormwater that's already been there. Since we're allowing it to recharge.
But, okay, I know I'm going to be repeating myself. If it is true that the land is expanding in this direction and the,
It's vegetated, I mean, it's saturated soil, and I can't say, you know, it wasn't delineated, I can't say for sure that the wetland edge has changed
Mhm.
since then, but just this whole area would be agriculture. My point was being that this access way was platted with the thought of it being used as access.
okay. And I have a second question, and your map doesn't address it, but so I have to do it verbally. It is my understanding that it is possible that some of the properties on this side of the map could create right-of-ways into the property in question. Has that been explored?
So is your question whether or not there are any right-of-ways that exist to access 136?
On the right side.
Yeah.
Existing?
So we had our title attorney, Chris Montalbano from Pilgrim Title, and those legal opinions were actually sent to DEM in the course of this application. And he reached the conclusion that there is no right of way from East Mansion Road into 136.
I misspoke. It is my understanding, and it's only verbal understanding. I don't have any proof of this,
Of course.
that right-of-ways could be created on the properties to the, if north is straight up.
Yep.
To the northeast of the property in question.
Yeah, I am not aware physically whether or not it's possible to put in a road like that, because in the rear of all of these properties, you have ISDS septic systems, you have different infiltration devices, you have a well in the area. So I don't think that is possible physically from an engineering point of view.
You're looking at a minimum of a 10-foot road. I believe this town requires a 4-foot buffer on each side of that. You're talking about 20 feet on going through some of these houses that exist. That's going to put it right up against somebody's window. And if that's going to serve as 2 lots, then now you've doubled that use. So it would definitely be, safety would be a concern, because this has been pretty well, these were the first lots that were developed. So that would be the reason why that was probably, it may have been explored, I don't know, but to me, from a design, that, this was the intent here, and this is the platted right of way.
So to answer your question, madam, we do not believe it's physically possible for a proper road to be engineered from East Mansion Road into 136, given what the physical characteristics are out there at this point.
But have you actually explored those options?
We have Sherenzia, I believe they're not marked, but somebody else at Sherenzia looked at it, and we have looked at it before, and there's not adequate space to do so. Thank you for your question. Sir.
Understanding where the right of way is, it seems to run right inside the perimeter of the wetland, which is the blue dotted line. So right there. Have you looked at moving, and again, I understand it's the right of way.
Yep.
So legally, it's a right of way. You can use that, like technically that's how you access the property. But have
Agreed.
you looked at moving it to the northeast 10 feet?
So,
Line. So take that blue line, the straightest section,
yep,
and go northeast, which is 10 feet.
yep.
Like basically take that whole 10-foot driveway and move it right along the right side of that dotted blue line.
Yeah. So what I can say is, prior to engaging in all this years ago, my client had conversations with the owners of Lot 138, and this is some of what was explored as part of it. Unfortunately, we do not control anything outside of the right-of-way, and we proposed actually to share their driveway in order to minimize any impacts to the wetland. And unfortunately, that request was denied. Please.
So this is their driveway.
Correct.
Their property line is, assuming the stone wall or.
No, it's up here.
This dot. So the property line is this dotted line. To where?
Chris, can you kind of take it to the side? Yeah.
The other microphone.
I was gonna say, we can use the other microphone in some way, because we can't see talking about. I was gonna say, Chris, just grab one of those. Thank you.
So the right of way, it's not a public right of way, so it doesn't define property, it's an easement, so.
Yeah.
They have an easement to go over their property, which they don't geometry of that right of way.
Would you gain anything if you went over 10 to 20 feet?
We've been denied.
That's my,
So
that's,
they
What I'm
said
saying is,
no
if we had-
to,
If it would be worthwhile going back and asking again.
right, so they're saying like a butter is not willing to change that right away.
Yeah, but even though to change their minds too.
Yeah, I can tell you,
Here for 1 second, Peter, has had his hand up, so I just want to give him the opportunity to speak.
I just want to make sure I understood you
Oh,
correctly
you're
earlier.
muted, Peter, hold on.
Can you hear me?
his volume was down.
Is it the speakers in the
Okay,
council
wait,
room?
wait, wait, turn it up, sorry. Can you try now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I just want to make sure I understood correctly earlier. This is lot 136. And,
Yeah, the subject of the application is 136, but it also impacts 131.
and does the property owner own any other lots in the vicinity?
Yes, the property owner owns one of the lots over on East Mansion Road.
Is that 134?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And to follow up on the previous question about exploring opportunities, I've been in close contact with counsel for the owners for 138, and we have done our darndest to figure this out. And at this point, we've come to the conclusion, unfortunately, that, there's no way to meet what my client's needs are in order to serve 136 and then also 131, and then also meet what they believe should happen as well. Again, I never say never. If, council wants to contact me, I'm happy to have that conversation. We're on great terms. Again, Bates and Conway, they're represented here today, so I'm sure we'll hear from them as well with respect to that. And I remain open to, trying to resolve it. But at this point, the application in front of you is essentially to use the deeded right-of-way, which is essentially undisputed by the owners of 138. And it's the minimum amount that we can possibly use in order to serve two landlocked pieces of property.
Other questions?
Yeah, thanks.
Go ahead.
Thanks for everybody being here today. It's really helpful.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, to answer questions. Yeah, it seems to me it's such a tight design, like you're fitting a dress. It's
Thank
really
you.
tight, engineered. I too, like Chris, thought of, can you move that road northeast just for that section that's so fragile? And as Sosha brought up, I was concerned about, we work on sea level rise from concerns about marsh migration, and I have the same concerns here with, what was defined in our letter as swamp and perimeter wetlands. And so that was a thought as well. Could you revisit that as an option?
I'm happy to explore it. We would have to get permission from the owners of 138 in order to either share their driveway or to move the easement out of the wetland. And then we would be able to circumvent this piece
Mhm.
that is being impacted and then come back in to meet the 40-foot right-of-way.
Yeah.
And, this would it would be a lot less of a problem. It's not a problem right now, but because of we're talking about 1.5% of this entire marshway, and the owners of 138 have already been granted approval through two different applications from DEM in order to essentially modify this wetland in order to give them access
Right,
as
you
well.
mentioned that. It was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you referred to 1.5% of the wetland, but in the document that we have from DEM dated October 1st, they talk about the project as proposed will result in the alteration, disturbance of 0.05 acres of swamp, and 0.03 acres of wetland. But your number of 1.5 is a little higher than what's in this?
Yeah, so
Why is that so?
essentially what we did is we calculated and again, these were approximate numbers we did,
Yeah.
I believe yesterday in order to help explain the small size of what we're asking for here, given we're dealing with a deeded right of way. And we estimated that this wetland right here in total was approximately 85,000 square feet. So you're correct that that's exactly what that says,
Uh-huh.
but we were just looking at it from a slightly point of view. So go ahead.
That's one percentage of, I think what you're stating is area.
Mm,
So they're not.
they're not the same. They're different. Okay. And that's why they're different. What else? A question. The proposed right of way, when I look at the notes, the plans before from Charenzia, which are always great, thank you. Seem very close to the neighbor's deck. Am I reading that correctly?
You are actually. So
Seems to just rush right along that southwest.
unfortunately, it actually encumbers that, but technically it's not a problem for this proposal because it does not impact where we're proposing the road. So essentially, we've avoided that problem as much as possible, but that is a concern that I've raised to council for the owners of 138 that technically they built within our right of way. But you know, we're able to go around it and make sure it's not a problem. So, but you're correct on the way you're reading that.
Okay.
That's a recent, that's a new build, correct? That was not a,
Yes,
that has been existing for 25 years.
it's a fairly new build. Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, I will come to the audience in just a couple of seconds. Just as for theory's sake, did you look at whether or not there would have been access from either the south or the southwest coming around the property? I know we've talked about the north and east, but
Yep.
South and west.
Yep. So
See for that.
absolutely. And thank you for that question. You're not the first to come up with that question. The Concom came up with the exact same question. So essentially, there was a question about whether or not there was access from Minister's Lot approximately over here and up through. But as you can see from the town's own plat map, there is no access from this road right here through 131 into 136.
With the owners of that property about possibly having a right of way through there.
Yeah, I think we discussed that with the Vanderslasens, and the answer was no, because both the Blanchfield family and the Vanderslaysen family, feel strongly that this was a deeded right of way that they essentially are entitled to by a matter of right. And when the owners of 138 bought their property, they knew it was subject to that, and it's been on every single one of their plans they've submitted to date to DEM. So we've tried that, and unfortunately, the answer is no.
That question was a good question because the Vanderslasens did try to access their way through Minister's Lot and they were denied that access because they have a right not allow, any new builds entering that subdivision.
Okay.
So that was a subdivision regulation.
Audit conversation
Yes,
And looked at it.
correct.
Because that would have been taken care of a lot of your problems.
Absolutely. We tried that and that was really was the first denial. So that was found out years ago.
Early.
Yeah, early on.
Okay. Well, it was a great idea that didn't work. I have a lot of those.
Thank you for raising it.
Questions?
Yeah, just two quick, go ahead.
Do you mind?
No, go ahead.
Sorry.
Then we'll go to Mary.
Great. So I feel like we're just going ring around rosy here. You mentioned earlier, and I thought I noticed that Blanchfield Realty owns whatever that is,
134, yes.
Could we just get in a little further into why you guys decided that that wasn't appropriate to use that? Because it seems like you have a solution there. You own that property, and you could get access through that lot to another lot that you own. So I just was curious to understand how you arrived at.
Sure. I don't have the aerial in front of me right now, but if you were to look at an aerial of 134, it is essentially encumbered by either a house or an ISDS.
So when I look at the map, and I could be.
Yeah, so here's a perfect example. Yep, so we're talking about this right here.
Yeah, and I don't have the exact dimensions, but along that northern boundary seems like an option worth exploring.
So here you have an ISDS and you have the tank right here. So unfortunately,
And down through, so you went across the north, back behind the building and over, because
You're
are you
talking-
gonna have to do something about that building when you sell this property anyway? Because then
it's possible.
line,
That hasn't been decided yet. We're in discussions. If this proceeds, we'll get to that next step. But as you can see, do you see this infrastructure right here for the ISDS?
to the south of that building.
Yeah, I don't think so, but if, Jim, do you want to address that?
20 feet is a pretty wide width.
Yep.
So what we're not allowing to have 20 feet unless you're bringing that roadway right up against this,
We're talking.
our
I
house.
understand it's not ideal, but I'm.
Or it's gonna invade on this person's property.
I
Or
imagined it going north and then cutting down around the building.
can you imagine,
Just something.
can
to-
you imagine a 20-foot road going right?
I think
by-
we were talking 10 foot for.
No, you gotta have
this.
4 foot on either side of, to make sure you have the width that actually, occurs for proper.
Fire safety or something?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to have large trucks,
Is it heavily vegetated there?
it's not, this is heavily vegetated. It just
Mhm.
brings the roadway within feet of the house. So it was not designed. This is why back in the 60s, this was designed to allow the access way to this property. And nothing was ever allowed to have that kind of access way for a road. Large trucks, oil trucks, fire trucks, none of that was ever decided upon in that design back in the 60s when this was really.
And Jim raises a great point. I mean, the turning radius for a fire truck, I don't think it could make that corner right here around
Have
and,
you asked the fire department?
yeah, I think it's just an engineering standard of whether or not that can be designed. We haven't asked the fire department because this is the first time it's being raised, but I would have concerns about fire safety for this lot. And I would have concerns about fire safety for 131 as well, because I don't think that that is going to be a road that will meet the specs in order to allow fire safety equipment to get there.
Get a road in that way. I'm just curious.
We have vetted over 134 and we've determined that it is physically not possible in order to do so.
Okay. Determine it's physically not possible to put a road on 134.
Exactly.
But does it have to be a road?
Also, I have a,
Can I just ask a question? How come you haven't come to the planning board with this proposal accessing through these other lots and then ask for waivers from road standards?
I was going to ask about that because have we not done that before, Jen?
We've done that numerous times.
Especially in a densely populated area like this,
Times.
where it didn't have to be 20,
Sensitivity,
the sensitivity of the environmental
coastal
sensitivity.
features. Yeah. Yes.
And are you referring to,
Can I-
Jen? I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Oh.
Jen, may I ask a further question for you? What was that relief? I'm just remembering a site
think it ended
near
up
Painted
being
Rock. Was it
8 feet of a
12?
travel
8?
way, just
Okay,
8,
eight.
and then 4 feet cleared on either side.
Okay.
With no improvements to the
Oh, okay.
4-foot shoulders.
The road being 8, the clearance on either side 2.
So a 12.
So
is-
12.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
I-
thank
I-
you.
I need a clarification question. Is the width of a road the same as the width of a driveway?
Well, a driveway, we don't really have any standards. If we're talking about a road, meaning like a right of way or an easement for access, that has standards.
Because,
If it's part of a subdivision, there's
Mm.
very clear standards.
because
Jen.
from my perspective, the lot that Claire's talking about, that could you extend their driveway to this new property?
Really sure.
Are you talking about the existing driveway over 138?
Coming through Bates
The one that
and
you were-
Conway,
Building on
Okay, you're talking about.
Yeah. They have a driveway that can be extended?
on the Bates and Conway lot.
No, I think, Jen, I think they're referring to 134.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so where's the driveway, Jim, on that property? I'm not not sure. On 134, where's the driveway?
Not a driveway. We're always just, actually.
It's a grass. Mhm. Yeah.
So it's really just grass, drive, going into the garage, okay? It's really how scenarios happen. Same thing with all of these
Mhm.
properties, they just drive on the grass.
Yeah.
and leave the house.
Mhm.
So you gotta remember that trying to bring a roadway through an established, what I would call neighborhood, you could imagine the action that would be in this committee's, what I would say to you from all the lawyers that actually lived next to us, because we have 3 lawyers that live in the 3 buildings that actually are next to us, would be quite upset to understand that we were now trying to bring in a major roadway next to their house to serve 2 other properties, when it really was never designed.
But I'm just for argument's sake,
But for argument's sake, fine.
I wouldn't call it a road. I would call it a driveway. And if you eliminate that building, that little structure that's on the borderline there, then you don't have to make a 90-degree turn south and then a 90-degree turn west to get into the property in question.
I built that. I built that.
But I'm just arguing.
I know, but I built that with a legal permit back in 1983. And this was part of, the history of this,
Yeah.
of this world we're talking about. All this was a history. And that's why I'm trying to bring you back to that this is a history of a neighborhood that has been living here for years. And I'm just saying to you, we're just trying to make you realize that we've looked at every possibility here to keep a neighborhood in its entirety, which is what a neighborhood really is. It's a collection of memories in, people's hearts. And right now, taking anything in here to try to do that would destroy hearts in a neighborhood.
And you have a legal access to
We
this.
do have a legal access.
You're not landlocked. You have
Right.
legal access that's been platted since,
Since the 60s.
Okay.
This is when my grandfather came here and decided to buy this property from John Littlefield's family.
so the neighbor, the abutter, could opt to relocate that right of way somewhere on their lot so that it doesn't go through a wetland. They're choosing not to. This is what you have.
Right.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
That's right.
Yes, I was going to be.
You're increasing traffic between 2 houses where there's currently yards
Yeah.
and grass. Is that?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that's concerned me, is the amount of traffic, because you've got several
Dwellings.
buildings, 2 lots, and more than 1 building on a lot. So you could end up with a fair amount of traffic going through the wetlands.
And
Which is
more, I
concerned.
will, and also if they came in from in the other
East side.
direction, I would worry about additional traffic on
Yeah.
that road.
Absolutely.
Because that's such a small, narrow
Yeah.
lots, and I can see both sides. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Kind of go through in a different way through the other lot. I mean, it's a legal right of.
Okay. Any other questions from the board before I go to Peter? And then I will get to the audience.
Nope.
Okay, well, I can always come back. Peter, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I think I heard the owner say that he built the garage that's on the lot line between 134 and 136. And I'm just wondering if there's any intention to modify that lot line as part of this sale.
Yeah, so that has been explored, and the first step in order to absolutely first get access to this property is where we're at right now with DEM. And then once we have, God willing, made it through this procedure, we're going to have conversations about possibly redoing that lot line. And if so, we'll be before you yet again in order to do so. So I'll look forward to that.
I think all of us picked up on that, so that is a concern.
There's actually an application in my office, I think, about an
Okay,
administrative supervision.
okay, it's good to know. Anything else, Peter, that we should look at?
No.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Kevin, I know you had your hand up. Thank you for your patience.
I'm gonna go to my, Kevin Boyd.
Yep, microphone. We've changed that since you moved.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Hoyt. I think everybody knows me. I come at this also as the prospective buyer, but also as an individual that is licensed by DEM in 3 separate ways and also has 15 years of experience in soil environmental science. I'm published in that field on 3 occasions. And to technically address some points that were made. Mark indicated that the wetland was growing. I think that to clarify that, what we need to do is look at an aerial imagery of the property back to 1939, when this entire area of the island was in agricultural use. And at that point, the entire pond that is at the, would be the northwest corner of here. No, excuse me. Let me make sure I get my references right. Yes, this area right here. There's a
Can't see
there's
you
a-
through the microphone there. Okay, good. Thank you.
There's the pond here, and right in this area, that this wetland complex is associated with that pond. The only aspect of its growing is that it has been allowed to revegetate. So that by criteria in DEM rules, we use vegetation to delineate our wetlands. So back then, when all of this was literally cleared down to the edge of the pond in 1939 through 1950s, which is all evidenced in our aerial imagery at DEM, that has been allowed to revegetate. That has been a good thing. I can't speak to without a larger project to address the hydrology of it. I do feel that it's always been the same size wetland. I've walked every inch of this property. I do feel that the wetland is not hydraulically expanding. It's associated with essentially a particular contour. That's controlled by contours. It's a depression in the landscape that's creating the wetland. There are some soils in that area which we have explored in a soil evaluation for lot 136 that leads me to believe that in that area, the soils are what are holding up which is very common too. It is not unique to this lot. That is very common for the entire island, for the soils to impact, hydrology of the overall island. So please understand that we have designed this in a way where we have effective treatment on the uphill side of the road to pick up what may be draining off the developed area of lot 138. There's an earthen swale along the uphill side of the roadway that is, by DEM standards, is effective treatment of that. So before it goes to the catch basins, it will have the water coming down the hill will have made its way through the earthen swale to the catch basins and be effectively treated. That's DEM standards. The other aspect that was raised, so I just wanted to clarify that. The other part is the retaining wall. As Mark indicated, we opted to go along with freshwater best design practice and install the retaining wall. That's going to have it's going to be a native stone retaining wall. It will have things like critter crossings in it, which will allow, the wildlife within this wetland to be able to migrate across the road. That is something that was integrated into the design concept in accordance with DEM standards. The last thing is I just want to be very clear in this as we get into concepts like, and I've worked extensively with colleagues at URI on these concepts, is we talk about marsh migration. That concept does not apply to this project. This is not a wetland that is contiguous. We're at an elevation of 18 feet above sea level. This wetland is not contiguous with the coastline and will not be ever in our lifetimes, or probably the next generation's lifetimes, or even after that, ever see tidal action. So that, although I appreciate the concern and I'm very much on board with the concern for the island, this particular swamp, which is the technical term for this area by Ed's report, isn't part of the concept of marsh migration. We're going to do everything we can you all know me well. You know my dedication to environment, and I've spent an entire lifetime on Block Island working towards protecting Block Island's sole source aquifer in my profession. And everything that can be done will be done to make sure that this roadway gets constructed properly according to DEM standards to protect the wetland. So I just wanted to offer all that. There are some technical aspects and there is some intent for me to make sure this gets done right. I would very much like this to be a project. We are at a point where we have the need for attainable housing. It's in our comp plan. We worked hard, Mark, you and I worked very hard in 2006 to develop the idea of, Jen, you were part of that as well. We worked very hard to develop the idea of attainable housing. This meets the definition of that. And so unfortunately, as our available land goes down, if we want to provide these housings, we're going to have to make these concessions and find that balance between natural resources and housing. And I think that in my work with Sherenzia and Sergio Sherenzia and Ed Evans and Hamza and Mark and even the Blanchfield family, because they've been very much Jane, Dave, Jim, their sister. We've worked really hard at this for the last 3 years. That's a long time. And we're trying to bring this to conclusion in a way that's equitable for everybody.
So you use the argument of attainable housing. Again, I'm being the devil's advocate. If somebody buys that property and builds an attainable house, or it is an attainable house, what is to stop them from selling it at market rate value?
Sosha, my family's been on the island for 120 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going anywhere. My family will not go anywhere.
Yeah, but you understand that that is theoretically possible that the house be sold at market value.
But that's
Unless you put it in the deed.
We did.
Uh-huh.
Thank
They're-
you.
they're-
Thank you for saying that because we put in the deed that he could not do that for 10 years.
For 10 years.
10 years. We couldn't say forever, but because we're not gonna live forever. But we said for 10 years that price would now double. To stop that.
Right, because this isn't affordable housing. So 10 years, I mean, that's just a agreement between the buyer and seller. That's not something that the town's.
I understand. I understand.
We respect that thought because we didn't want to see that happen.
Mhm.
And so we did set up something to obviously just not allow that to happen. Because the intent was to obviously do the attainable housing.
Mhm.
And we would be pissed as hell if we were gonna not see that happen, and we were gonna be stupid enough to make it, avoid it.
Okay,
And so should the plans do indicate an accessory dwelling unit of 513?
Yeah.
So that would provide additional housing.
yeah, that was one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that the right of way, as it is constructed, will be safe with a lot of traffic going over it, because you will have at least 3 to 4 houses, depending on how many cars, they say 2 per house. You could end up with 8 cars going in and out every day. And that you'll say what you will, it will drop oil and whatever. So I'm concerned that whatever construction is done, that will be taken into consideration.
As is the case with, thank you for the point. And as is the case with every square foot of road on Block Island.
Oh, yeah.
We're always up against managing that. And again, I can say that I do a pretty good job of trying to do the best I can to make sure that we're not, leaking oil or gas out of our vehicles and stuff. In fact, as you all know, that I was part of the West Lane project, and I worked very, very diligently with, my partner then, Karen Logan, to make sure that essentially the road was well managed. And essentially, when there were issues like that the homeowners association spoke to the individual so that, those vehicles that are problematic were managed. We did those things, and I intend to do those things again. I sat on the board of that homeowners association and worked towards what you just mitigating the problem that you just raised. So one thing I want to
We've had
say,
this raised a number of times, as you well know, through various, and we had bridges put in, culverts, et cetera. And I just want to make sure that this is going to be at least looked at and tried to be managed.
that's Margie, technically that's the split between paving roads and having gravel roads versus, and paved roads and catch basins and oil water separators within the catch basins versus our scenic gravel roads. There's a choice to be made there for the community. So I don't think, at least from my tenure in volunteering for this community, I don't think we want to lend ourselves to hard infrastructure. I don't think we want to have big catch basins that need to be maintained and plans and stuff.
No,
We want to go with
It's not maintained. I both know.
that's right. That's right. I mean, believe me, I've tried to in my career, just as with the previous town manager, I was very much trying to work towards looking at the management of that. Like, this stuff is at my heart. So the last thing that I'll just say is that with regards to the accessory apartment, I tried diligently in the sale of my family's home recently after my mother passed to work with the town to offer the town that, first refusal for that property. It didn't work out. I had 3 siblings to essentially discuss or negotiate with. I do have an ongoing conversation concerning that accessory residential or that accessory apartment for Block Island Health Services or the Block Island School. I have every intent, if we can get to that point, of renting that 1 or 2 bedroom accessory apartment to core services. We all know we need it. We just have to get through the simple aspects of how do we get access to this property.
So Margie, I have a question for you. I would like to hear from the property owners who are concerned about this project. Is there a way for us to listen to them?
Yes, so they're in the audience with legal counsel, and then there's a meeting at 2:00, so we should probably just be mindful of that.
Okay. Go ahead, sir. Introduce yourself, if you will.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Christopher DeVideo. I'm the attorney for Peter Bates and Colleen Kelly. They're the owner of Lot 138, which abuts Mansion Road, in which this proposed access road is going to begin. Here's their house, is the cottage. There's 2 layers of regulations, or at least policy guidelines. You start with DEM. DEM says first, don't harm, alter wetlands. If you're going to do it, you need to minimize it. And you need to, in that process, use the best technology, as well as look at alternative routes, whether you own the property or you don't control the property. The town, we'll start the comprehensive plan, which has goals about preserving the environment. It's clearly a goal of the town. Your land development regulations look to preserving and protecting natural resources. Your zoning ordinance does as well. And of course, the creation of the Conservation Commission, which its goal is to conserve natural resources. So implicit to the town's desire and mission to preserve natural resources is to determine whether or not there are alternatives to what is being proposed. And so I don't want to go any much further because, and I apologize, what's your name, miss?
Claire.
Claire. Claire really sort of honed in and focused on this. Now, alternatives as defined by the Department of Environmental Management are those that are feasible from a structural and engineering perspective. Convenience and cost are not those factors. So looking at C1, or we'll call it Site 1, I think the map you might have is C1. Right over here, just below this, there's a garage that straddles the line off of 134. There's a holding here, 21.57. See it right there? On your plan? Now, Certainly a surveyor or an engineer could provide better, but if you just look at that and extrapolate that 25.7, which I've done. Going north from this garage to this property line is at least 20 feet. Similarly, from the south of this building to this property line is 20 feet. Just extrapolating what you see on there, you can take a scale ruler, which it's kind of confusing because no one has said, yes, we looked at it. Here's the person that looked at it. I hear that someone maybe at Shorenzi might have looked at it. Now, 20-foot right of way is what's required. 10-foot travel, which means that needs to be prepared for a vehicle to travel over it. 12 to 14 feet, meaning needs to be clear for vegetation. So you've got a truck width that's coming down 10 feet. You need to be clear. Both sides of this home, which is owned by the Blansfield, owned by the applicant, is clear. There's no vegetation. So all you really need to do is create a 10-foot roadway for travel. They talk about, well, 20 feet is going to put, the 20 foot is the right of way. The 10 feet is the traveled way. Okay? Now, so, oh, okay, well, there's a septic system here, right? Septic tank, building line, well, not just sewer line that goes to it. Now, and I appreciate, I forget his name, but talking about his experience. I worked for the Department of Environmental Management when it was called the ISDS division. I reviewed and issued permits for this island. Came out to do soil test with Mark Tilson when he was the building inspector at that time. So I know that a septic tank can be upgraded, H20, which can handle up to, I think they typically use them on driveways and parking lots, meaning that a road, access road through 134 to this lot can be done. You can upgrade that sewer line as well so that people can travel here. Now, along the southerly line here, you see how this is weird, like thumb that sticks up? I don't want to get into the legalities of what recorded easements exist or don't exist. That might be another matter for litigation. But clearly, and we talked about access to 131, here's a 20-foot, here's an opportunity for a 10-foot roadway to come here, serve 131. You come up here, boom, you're on to 136. So you do what the Department of Environmental Management wants you to do. Look for alternatives, don't impact wetlands. And I don't disagree that they're deploying the best and utmost technology, but they're impacting the wetland. It's called an alteration to wetland for a reason, because they're altering it.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
So if this is lot 138, the DEM already approved this access point. So why couldn't you extend it from here to this small area? What's this area? Why couldn't that happen?
This is existing driveway.
Yeah,
And you're saying that, and this is
your client. This is the applicant. Why couldn't this already approved access point by the DEM approved built?
could be,
Why couldn't it go, I mean, we're talking
sure.
minimal feet right here.
So
And then you take away this access and you just continue, so now you're not even doing another road cut.
So how do you solve the problem of access for 131?
Well, it goes through it. Right to here. So instead of this, you go this way.
Well,
Now this doesn't get disturbed and you already have this constructed,
Jen,
usable.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I thought that was here.
That's for the main house, for the ARS, we have septic here, and it's a shallow.
Okay, that's not shown here. Okay.
Uh,
Or kind of swing and cut in this way then.
You know, Jen,
So that you're.
Jen, I appreciate your creative thinking. And that's exactly what Claire has asked the applicant to do. Sure,
Mhm.
and I'm not going to dispute that the assertion by my brother that there is no legal rights of way, because that's in dispute. We believe there are other rights of way, legally recorded rights of way to access 136. But that's not why we're here today. I don't want to get into a pitched battle as to whose title, review, and experts are correct. The question is, are there viable, or actually the word is feasible alternatives? And I just showed you two, one of which would solve the problem for 131 and 136. No clearing required, no impact to wetlands. Certainly, excuse me, Jen, your idea could work, but that's the job of the applicant.
Job of your client, in my opinion, because
Sure.
that lot has a right of way that's.
I don't disagree with you that that might be a feasible alternative, but
Just like the applicant for Blanchfield has an alternative. So there's,
the regulations state,
right?
if you're submitting an application to the DEM, Jen, it's the applicant's job to identify alternatives and explore them and determine if they're feasible or not, which one is the best, which one creates the excuse me, the best or the least amount of impacts. That concept that you just brought up, I haven't had a chance to review on detail. Maybe the applicant should have suggested that. They have,
It
but
just
here,
seems like it'd be a lot less disturbance to their lot
Jen, could you
to
show
have
us?
that.
Jen, could you show us on the big map? I don't really know what you're talking about.
I think what she's suggesting is have 136.
So this is their driveway, and it's here. So just continue it to there.
Right to here, straight through. That's what she's suggesting.
Ah,
It's already there, and it's such a short run. and
right.
It does not show a septic.
That would be, I
there.
believe, acceptable to my client. We proposed this years ago, and the answer is no.
This right here?
To essentially use the shared driveway in any aspect, whether or not it's going through, or it would go around and then pop back in to avoid this wetland. And the answer is.
I have a question in regard to what you're discussing. Where is the driveway, of the neighbor? As you come through and you're driving down their driveway, where are they parking their car? Like right there?
Right here.
So the proposal,
Would go to their
just,
parking-
we're throwing spaghetti at the wall. It would be to go right through their property, right through their
Right through their parking.
parking. Okay, thank you.
So, I mean.
But it's a
th-
lot less disturbance than putting in a whole nother road through the wet, right?
Here's the critical question here
You can do a
today,
parking
right?
easement. Reconfigure it so they're not.
The planning board is being asked to give a favorable recommendation to a project, to an application from DEM, which proposes to alter and impact wetlands. Okay, which is antithetical to what DEM is trying to preserve and what the town is trying to preserve. The question is, are there feasible alternatives? And if so, have they been explored? Maybe this is one that Jen has pointed out. The one I pointed out over here is clearly, as I said, it serves two purposes. This one right here, and it's not 20 feet. It's not that you got a driveway right next to your house.
You do, because if you measure
Well-
that, I think that you do.
No. No, what you do is you have,
Right? You
It's
have it
20
like
feet.
up against your house.
so there's 20 feet between the house on the south and their property line. So you'd have a road, a driveway.
8-foot wide travel way outside your bedroom window.
Okay, that's 12 feet. Okay, that's
Probably unrealistic.
well, no.
But is the same thing happening to the other neighbor?
Bill, the same.
No, because the same thing would happen, but they already have that access right there that they created, right?
So-
So I don't.
If you came
doesn't
across
make
the
a lot
wall
of
side,
sense.
you're not impacting this. You may be impacting this. Hey, I think it's an apartment. Point is, it's not for you to decide what's more convenient, what's
Yes.
better. Your job is, have they met their burden of alternatives to eliminate the impact to the wetland?
Mhm.
That's it.
Mhm.
Not which one might be better. Again, feasibility by the department is not convenience. You have a road that comes by your house that's within 12 feet, that's maybe inconvenient. It does not supersede impacting the wetland. Because the alternatives analysis does not consider cost. And by the way, upgrading that septic tank with an H20 and that sewer line, the cost would be dwarfed. for the cost of
Mhm.
building any sort of road that they're proposing, or even cutting through here. Which
But the-
bifurcates their property. They're two.
But that already exists right there.
Well, it does for them to use,
Right.
right? There's a parking area. You're gonna be bifurcating their compound, their house in this ASR with a roadway going through. And you do not satisfy the 131. Well, you could, sure, you might be able to. Excuse
You
me.
do, we're only talking about access for one lot, right?
They also have suggesting that this proposal will also serve 131. I'm also suggesting that this
Well,
alternative here.
so,
Feels more-
wait, are you saying that this is for access for one lot
So this.
or two lots?
Jen,
I just wanna make sure.
Exactly what you're saying. Two lots, they said that.
Actually, both 136 and 131 are landlocked without this access.
Right.
So essentially, it's the.
That's the deeded access.
Exactly. They both have deeded access to this right of way or access to Mansion Road. So it's not only this, property that my client owns, 136, it's also 131. And they're represented by Joe Priestley.
So could you go along, instead of going towards the Bates Conway structures, could you go on the other side of the property? Is there less wetland on?
I think it's wetland complex over
Are we
there.
talking about here?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so we essentially, in one of the many conversations I had with
Ah.
Council for Bates Conway, the first proposal by them was to essentially try to build a road right here.
Yeah.
As far away as possible.
Far away, then they don't even see it.
And their own wetland biologist and the DEM will never go for it because essentially it's right, it's actually worse.
Oh, it is.
Worse
Okay,
proposal.
that's-
It's a significant impact.
Okay.
To the wetland. So we have.
Looked
really-
like there was
Yeah, we
enough
spent-
land there to go through that way.
We spent years.
Yeah.
at
I've
the-
had multiple conversations with,
Right, so essentially.
owners.
We have looked at this every single way we possibly can in order to do this, and this is the deeded right of way since 1961. And it is the minimum amount that we can use. We have 40 feet, we're using 10 feet, which is the absolute minimum that we need to do this. And in doing so, we have skirted as far away from wetlands as possible.
Yeah, I appreciate that they've been looking at it for many years, going through the deeded right of way. What they have not demonstrated, and I think intuitively, any common sense person can look, if there's an opportunity for Blanchfield, who owns 134, there could be an opportunity for a roadway to provide access for both 136 and 131. In fact, whether or not you agree to demand that or have that information provided back to you through DM, we're going to be providing those comments to DEM. Okay? Because in addition to, as I said, this thumb right here on this site plan is indicative that our theory that there is a deeded right of way on both Vandus Sleece and 134 and 131.
do you have any documentation that exists?
Well,
Have you like? looked-
As a planner, Jen, why would someone create a lot with a thumb like that?
Oh, I've seen all kinds of unusual
Put it-
shapes.
put it in- I-
That doesn't mean, I
So-
mean, it might,
Here's what I would do. I don't want to debate
yeah.
whether or not
Just
the
asking
recorded
if you
easement.
had any kind of,
That's going to be a determination for a judge.
yeah, okay.
Is
So-
there a viable alternative? That's all I want.
It's
This-
a viable alternative
Unless there's a deeded access.
unless it's deeded access,
Yeah.
and that's, I don't see that being.
No. Blanchfield, the owner of 134. Okay?
Yes.
The owner of 134 can grant an easement that doesn't exist now. If you want to, save that argument for later. There's no deeded right of ways through 134. Let's just, assuming arguendo that's the case. 134, the owner of 134 can grant a right of way to 136. Now, a right of way does exist. They're in control of granting that access. You don't have to argue, does one exist now? They are in control of the property that can grant the easement to 136 and 131. They're in control of it. They own the property. They can seek variances, deviations as to the exact, because it's, if you go out there, you've been there, there's no vegetation. It's just open lawn between houses. So any truck, I was just, yeah, I mean, between the north and south, I don't see trees
We have to have time.
that would interfere with a fire engine getting in there.
We,
But in any case, go
our
ahead.
town planner has comments, and then I think the
Also,
board
just, Kevin.
needs
can
to
talk.
have a conversation before we have to wrap it up for the next meeting and decide whether or not. I just want to mention that the town council has also taken up this matter. They're going to put it on their early November meeting, so your comments to the DM will go through the town council. But you shouldn't wait until your November 12th meeting.
Yeah.
So
I think.
To that point, the council's meeting on the 3rd. Is that when you
I don't
expect?
have to ask
It's-
the clerk's office. I know it's their early meeting, but I don't.
And comments end the 17th.
17. So I think let's hear.
Just real quick to Chris, I haven't seen I'm remote and haven't seen the subdivision plan from the original, from the 1960s for this area. I think that would be helpful if anyone's come across it.
Yeah, I believe there is it's called Plat Map 7. I don't think it was in the submission. And if you look at Plat Map 7, there's actually quite a few roads that were intended to service these properties.
Yeah, that'd be helpful if you have it handy.
Yeah, I don't have it handy.
I mean, not right now, but if you could email it,
Sure, Plat Map 7.
yeah, that'd be great.
So when those lots were laid out, first, as you know, there needs to be a dedication, right? That means and presumably when you file a plat map with lots and roads, that's an offer of dedication. Whether or not the town accepted those roads, but I think that does give, if you will, sort of the histrionics of what was intended there for people to access these lots. There's lots of lots in this area, including the ones that are developed right now. But I will forward that to you through Jen, I believe. Is that okay?
Yes.
Great.
Kevin.
I'll speak to the width of the road, and Margie, you know that how I feel about roadway standards. The roadway standards on the book right now are 12-foot wide, 4-foot on either shoulders. An 8-foot wide road is completely unworkable. It's not doable. The fire trucks, and I speak from the hat, and I don't speak for the organization at the time, but I speak from the hat of being a deputy chief of the fire department, a lieutenant of the fire department, and a foreman of the drivers for the fire department serving this community. The overall width of the vehicle is 8'6" on those trucks. Additional width needs to be provided, and Mark can speak to this, around curves. So that needs to be factored into the board's analysis of whether or not a road can be fitted in where it's being proposed. This is not an 8-foot wide road going through there. We are building a subdivision road through there. It has to meet standards because ultimately these vehicles, it's not just emergency vehicles. Where do you, in the summertime or in the wintertime, where do you plow snow? Off the road. Where does that go? Where all these aspects of roadway design have reasons behind them that go to roadway maintenance.
Yeah, I'm looking at it
Access?
right now. It says a 14 by 14 laneway.
I think that the fire department has actually on their website. So they're calling for
By 14.
14 feet wide, 12 feet high. So an 8-foot wide is a non-starter because it doesn't even, we have to talk about a 60,000 or 65,000 pound vehicle. And when you start getting those tires off the road, off to a properly prepared road, it gets unsafe, not only for the property owner, but also for the individuals driving the truck. So just take that a bit of information, please, in your decisions, that when we start talking about waiving roadway standards to shoehorn a roadway into a half-acre lot with curves and turns that will require greater widths, so that as because we're talking about turns and curves.
Just-
Hold on, turns and curves, when you navigate that, the road needs to widen. So those are the concerns about that you'll have to address in a roadway design. It makes it more than just a little difficult.
Just so I'm clear, the road that you're proposing though, how wide is that?
10 feet wide.
Okay, so 10 feet wide.
Yep. Yep. So that it can carry appropriate traffic.
Okay, thank you. You want to sum up?
Just briefly, I thank you so much for your time today and your attention and your engagement on this issue. It means a lot to us that you have considered these materials very carefully. I just wanted to briefly respond to what my brother had said. He's claiming that this is possible, that is possible, without any proof. There's no alternative engineering plans that have been submitted or designed. There was a reference to, possible other legal access. Jen raised a very good point. All right, where's that opinion? We actually have written opinions from our title examiner and our title expert in this case that state the only way is through that right of way. And those letters are in the record with DEM, have been provided to DEM. So once again, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I truly appreciate your time today.
Anything else for anybody?
I was just wondering if your approach does meet the need of fire equipment. In other words, I don't believe I see a drawing that shows where your fire truck would be able to turn around.
So this, and Mark can come up and correct me if I'm wrong, but this has been designed to allow for the appropriate turns for a fire vehicle. So for example, you see this jog right here around the C-Series wetland. It was specifically designed to allow fire truck and other apparatus to get around it. Am I right, Mark?
But it dead ends from where I'm sitting.
It goes to, you can't see it. But right here, it says access in favor of 131. Those dotted lines right there.
But where does the fire truck make a turn? You would have to create that.
Not part of the subdivision like you're thinking.
Yeah,
That's, that's exactly
yeah,
correct, where you would create like a hammerhead or cul-de-sac or
Right.
something.
right.
This is an existing easement. So those. We still need to have a place for the fire truck to turn around, but.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
good, thank you very much. We will. So
Do you want? Would you like to reach a consensus and then have Peter and I work on some language, but you would have to have a special meeting because your next meeting is the 14th, and I think it's helpful to provide the comments back to the town council before their meeting, so it's up to you. How you would like to move forward.
So I heard an argument for or against 8-foot road, but that a 10-foot would do the job. And so I would need to be convinced why a 10-foot wouldn't work as an alternate plan from the property that is also owned by the same applicant.
Jen, are you asking for a vote or are you asking for comments for the
Consent.
council?
both.
You can either vote and craft a motion right now to send to the town council, or you could reach a consensus and ask the staff to work on a draft language, and then you vote on it again. So it's up to you. If you want to have a quick special meeting later to vote on it, but before your meeting on the 12th, whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, if we're fine with it, we give a favorable and you don't have any comments, then that'll be quick.
I'm
If
fine
it's
with
a negative and you would like to write all the reasons why, then you might want more time. So it's up to you, whatever you want to do.
So I'm not fine with it. I am not convinced that an alternative is impossible.
I'm really moved by the application you guys have put forward, but I have to agree with Sosha. I remain unconvinced that there's not an alternative that doesn't result in impacting those wetlands.
Okay, Chris?
I said I'm fine with it.
Sorry, okay.
I mean,
Okay,
consider that the driveway, is it 136, the abutters?
134.
Already had DA approval to put in their driveway,
Oh, no, sorry.
131, I think, was that.
131, 138. I said there was DM approval to put in the top of the driveway already. We're talking a square footage that's minimal compared to the entire, I don't even want to call it a wetland. I know where this is.
It's been identified.
It's been identified, yeah, I know, but it's abandoned farmland, like, and I get really irritated when legal rights away get hindered by things like this. It really makes me mad because it's a legal right away. And the due diligence has been done from the engineering perspective and minimizing any damage to whatever you want to call that. I call it swamp. So I don't have a problem with the application as presented. And I don't agree with putting in, I live on, how large is my lot?
1,000 square feet, give or take.
I know what a driveway 10 feet away from your house is like. All right. Because you drive through it.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with the application as presented.
okay. Mary?
I would look forward to us having a little bit more time to just review and pull together some of the comments here today. I agree with Claire. I think the work that you did, Sharenzia, putting everything together is super helpful to us the first time I've seen it. I didn't realize you were working on this for so long. That's remarkable. I appreciate that. I also appreciate the point of view of the neighbor who is concerned about traffic coming through on your right of way by right. And what we're asked here to do today is to look at the impact to what's referred to as swamp and perimeter wetlands. So I don't take lightly either case and feel like, for myself personally, I'd just like a little bit more time to possibly meet again with planning to go over some of these details and give our recommendations either for more work to be done by the applicant to present alternatives that we were throwing spaghetti at the wall for today, just to do our due diligence for what we're requested to do to prove that there's no harm or the least amount of harm to the DEM oversight of the swamp and perimeter wetlands. That's all.
To your recommendation, whether or not the abutter where the access is deeded should come up with an alternative through, or I don't know what the DEM is
Mhm.
really truly looking for, and your comments will ultimately go to the town council, so
Oh, okay.
and then through
So we
the
can
town
schedule
council
a
to the
meeting
DM.
for,
Okay.
Day next week.
Margie, do you want to say if you're in favor, or are you?
I am mixed.
Okay.
I think there's possibilities of alternatives. I'm not sure that I've liked what I've heard so far, with the roads going between the houses, but I still think that there's a possibility that, there could be, a development from the roads that are already in the right of way connecting up that section just before it gets in, rather than having to go all through the wetlands. So I guess. Exactly.
But that was denied.
But that was denied. So if that was denied, then I think I would say I'd have to go with the current plan. I certainly would want to put some restrictions on it, such as the culverts have got to be cleaned periodically, because I know that they back up. We've had personal experience with that. So I'm happy to schedule a meeting for one day next week where we could have a chance to list the pluses and minuses for the town council. So they will have a heads up of some of the thoughts that we've come across today and have a chance to think about them.
Could we, could you decide whether or not you're going to take additional comments from the applicant so they know whether or not they need to come back? I mean, this isn't a public hearing where you typically close a public hearing and take the matter under advisement and have the discussion. But I think the next special meeting is to vote on a motion one way or the other.
Yes.
Without public comment. I just want to make sure we're clear on what you're.
I was thinking of it as a session for the members of the board to discuss it and vote. Because we may want to put some restrictions on whatever way we end up going.
I just have a question about that. When we meet again next week, hopefully, to go over this and vote, I liked your idea of if our advisory, if you will, to the town council will list the pros and cons more clearly for them.
Yes, I think that would be very helpful for them.
Mhm.
I won't be next week. I'm on finance.
You're off island. How's everybody's schedule for Thursday of this week?
Pretty open, I don't.
No, Thursday's too soon, this week.
Okay,
Not
so she
even-
can't make it next week. She's not here.
Okay.
And I'm concerned for the applicant. I
We
I think it's important they have time to either review what our comments.
I mean, this is to the DEM.
Okay.
So they can,
I am comfortable.
Go
because
ahead.
this isn't a typical application that you
Yes.
see here where they have the opportunity to, okay, we'll take your comments and change it and come back
Yes.
to you.
Mhm.
This is a time sensitive matter, and if the applicants choose to amend their application with the DEM, then maybe we'll see it again.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So looking at next week, Monday's out. I mean, I could try to get Tuesday or Wednesday at noon again, if that works.
I can't do it Monday, but I can do it Tuesday or Wednesday.
I mean, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, how does that work for everybody else?
That's fine.
Yeah, oh,
Tuesday looks fine. I can respond to you in the next half hour, Jen.
Okay, I have to check the meeting, but
we have to check the meeting schedule. Make sure the room-
yes.
Yeah.
Whether it's Tuesday or Wednesday.
Is there any
And-
other information that we need from anybody in the audience before we, like,
Yes.
is anybody requesting anything?
Because we're not going to, I mean, you can certainly attend, it's a public meeting, but if you're not going to take comments
Not taking comments.
from the public, then you might want to just make sure there's nothing else.
What about
Yeah,
the
anything
maps
else?
that you are going to be getting that shows right of ways from way back?
Peter asked for
Yeah, those noon Tuesday, Wednesday next week's not good for me, but if I take a look at that old subdivision plat map, that might be all I need to shoot you a quick memo.
okay.
The subdivision plat map from 1960s?
Yeah.
Question, are we sending, does the planning board send its own comments to DEM, or does the town council take everyone's consideration and they send comments?
We are working towards comments going to the town council. The town council will be sending their recommendation.
Including
In-
ours, or?
I'm
We
not
don't
sure
know.
of
Got
that
it.
process,
Mhm.
but we will be sending our comments to the town council.
I see.
So I would like to do so before they meet, which
Yep.
is early November,
Mhm.
but we also cannot keep holding special meetings.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not, conservation has held a number of special meetings, so I just want to make sure we have time to draft some language
Just
and
give
get
everybody
it
a
back to
chance
you.
think about it. Jen and Peter to draft some language that we may be able to use. I certainly want a list of the pluses and minuses for both sides, because it's not clear. There are definitely areas that are very gray, and there's lots of pluses and minuses for both sides.
Okay, so the only thing that we're looking for would be the request that Peter made regarding the plat maps.
Yeah.
And no other details from the applicants, and you're not going to take comments from the applicants. You're going to talk about it
Yes.
as your draft and vote on it at your next meeting, because I don't think it's fair for one applicant to
Yeah.
attend and the other one, so.
Sure.
I just want to be clear.
Jen, can I
Again,
ju-
this is a recommendation. to
Yeah.
The DEM, it isn't your public hearing.
Okay. Jen, may I ask just one more question to council in regard to maintenance?
You have one more question to the,
To,
oh, sure, go ahead.
to, one of the sticking points for me too is maintenance of the site, the culverts and can you address that?
Yeah,
Or,
absolutely. Kevin, you want to come up and address that as the prospective owner of this property?
So certainly, as someone who was involved in a LOMOD project, was benefit of a LOMOD project, and worked very, very hard for 15 years to make sure that roadway infrastructure was maintained with my fellow homeowners in West Lane. It's at my heart. It's how we get to and from school. It's how we get to and from the doctors, down to the grocery store. So I've designed this road as simply as possible. Those are not full-size residential catch basins. They are just, I believe, there may be a section. Yes, here. This is a small 2x2 on page C2. Down here, you see the small residential catch basin, and with no sump, and essentially the pipe going under the road. The intent there is to not create the expense of a standard catch basin, and also making it easier for maintenance, so that one of the biggest problems that we only have a vacuum truck that comes out to the island for the town once a year. So that makes it very difficult to, properly service catch basins. So what I've done is done the reverse structure, very low impact, and essentially with no sump, so it can simply be shoveled out and essentially the silt put back up into the road. But ultimately, they're serviceable, like by someone individually without specialized equipment. The other catch basins in the town that are on the town roads don't serve that, or don't have that similarity. So this was specifically designed with ease of maintenance, and also, again, there are 2 earthen swales, which are DEM best management, stormwater best management, effective treatment, so that before the water gets to the catch basin, it's going to be passing through that swale, and so that the water, when it reaches end of pipe and the downhill side of the road, is that it'll, by DEM standards, it will be effectively treated before it goes back into the wetland.
Thank you.
And just briefly before we end, Mr. Blanchfield touched on this, but I just wanted to emphasize his point from earlier today. When we're thinking about alternatives, this is the deeded right-of-way. There are no deeded right-of-ways from East Mansion Road over other property. Now, if you're going to try to consider those as alternatives, now you have to consider the owner of 135. They're not here today to essentially agree or disagree. My guess is they're going to vociferously disagree. And so you're going to have that. It's you need notice in order to even have those conversations, so they can be present if they so choose. If we're talking about the southern border, talking about the O'Connell family that should be here, that this board can hear from. And again, the point was made by a member of this board that those don't exist. The deeded right-of-way exists as a matter of right, and it's undisputed. My brother never once said that doesn't exist. It does exist. So it's just a matter of minimization at this point and doing the best we can to preserve the natural resources. Thank you for that additional comment.
Thank you very much.
So we have the plat map set, which I'm gonna just go right over there and try to find it. Because that's where it originated from.
Sure.
And you also asked for any sort of documentation or information regarding other rights of way. We provided in the DM where we'll forward them to you forthwith so
Okay.
that you can consider those. I think this goes out to a public comment to people within a certain amount of feet of the application. So I think 135 or whoever you're referring to got notice of this application. Maybe they didn't get notice of this meeting.
Right, so they didn't get notice of this meeting. and-
Oh, right.
Because this is specific to the one.
We didn't get notice of this meeting.
Because it's specific to
I
the
understand.
application. and I
You're right, the
questioned
application,
that as well.
136,
Yes.
138, we didn't get notice. So I'm not sure whether or not this position that 135 or anyone else should have notice of this meeting, because we didn't get notice. We just happened to be riding herd on this. So in any case,
Understood.
I will give those deliverables to you forthwith. The plat map 7 and any of our information, which I'm fairly confident you have copies of. Yes.
And in that right, I just wanted to, if my brother's providing his information, we're going to provide, if with your permission, the legal opinions we received from Pilgrim Title, explaining why none of those rights of way exist.
That would be
There are
very
three
helpful.
letters-
Thank you.
There are 3 letters in total that have been submitted to DEM, and we'll forward them to you for your review. But thank you.
I really
And-
think you need to submit it by Thursday at the latest. of
And
this week.
just
Today would
real-
be great, and email one paper copy, or I think would be helpful.
And just real quick-
PDFs, go ahead, Peter, sorry.
Sorry, finish, Jen.
No, I just want to make sure we get the material in time.
Just real quick question, if either of the lawyers there know it, or planning board member, member of the public. What's the notice for a DEM wetlands alteration permit? Who received notice of this application?
I didn't catch the question.
Who received notice of the DEM wetlands permit alteration application?
So I believe it's everybody within 200 square feet of the. Go ahead.
200, I believe.
It's the required notice is 200 feet of the proposed alteration. It's not an
Okay, yeah.
it's not an abutters. So we have met, we worked Mark, myself, Sergio, we worked very diligently to make sure we had a complete list.
Yes,
Ran that by the supervising director at RIDEM Freshwater Wetlands Program, Marty Wensick, and that has been vetted and sent out. Those packages have been sent out.
thank you.
Thank you all very much, and thank you very much for coming. And we appreciate the presentation that you gave, all of you, pluses and minuses not regarding. Thanks for the work. Yes. Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.